Hi, Nina.
Hi, Mary.
It's really good to see you, and I want to welcome you to Arctic Frontiers Unpacked, where we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about space. But before we do, maybe you could tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're a space expert or a space nerd. I'm not sure which to call you. Maybe both.
Maybe both.
Yeah.
Thank you for inviting me. I think how I ended up in space industry is quite a coincidence. And it took me some years to actually get a name for it. There was a woman that was awarded the Mentor of the Year in US, and she talked about a similar thing, called it a non-linear entry into space industry, meaning I'm not an engineer. I have not studied astrophysics or anything. I studied art history, specialized in Renaissance architecture.
You're definitely not a nerd then.
Yeah, I definitely know how to nerd, and but okay, my confidence was boosted when I met a fellow art historian in NASA, and we agreed that every proud space company should have their own in-house art historian.
Absolutely.
A point to follow up on that is actually that has been an advantage for me, not knowing too much about the technology, because it's been easier than to convey the message of the value of space-based information to end users.
Because you've been with KSAT for how many years now?
Oh, I think LinkedIn is going to tell me 17 years in a few weeks.
In a few weeks. Well, congratulations ahead of ahead of LinkedIn saying you congratulations. But that definitely puts you definitely in the expert area of space. Here at Arctic Frontiers this week, now we're just on the last day of the conference. Over the years, it's typically been a place where people get together and talk about security or climate change and research, maybe some fishing or shipping collaboration. But this year, there's this new topic that's come onto the scene that there were at least two sessions about, but it came up in many of the other sessions, and that was space. Can you explain a little bit why and what we've been talking about?
Yeah, and I think you're right. Now, we have been talking about space in the years before, but I think it's been more hidden in other topics. In the topics that you mentioned, space has also been a topic, but not individually or focused as it is now. And I think the most important reason for that is that Norway has always had space companies specialized in niche services or products and been world leading in them. But this year is actually the first time when Norway can start talking about ourselves as a space nation.
Why?
And that is because we now have the whole value chain in Norway.
Explain what you mean by that.
Yeah, so that means from building satellites, building advanced sensors on board satellites, to launch facility for small satellites in Andøya. It's probably just a few weeks away from actually being able to launch from there.
Right,
yeah, which is a bit south of Tromsø, but still up north. And then KSAT, the company that I work for, we are world leading in downloading this data from antennas and sites all over the world. And then the last but not least is where the magic happens, when you turn all this data into valuable information and useful information for end users on the Earth observation side. So that whole ecosystem is now something we have in Norway, and I think that's the new thing this year.
And I definitely noticed in the two sessions on space that it was not, everyone was represented. So you had the very high level government coming in and talking, but also right down to the startups we're talking later at the end of the day today. So that was very interesting. For you specifically, you were talking a little bit about your ground stations and why location is so important. And could you explain to us again what's going on? Why is location so important for a ground station?
Yeah, and that's because of the orbit parameters of the satellites, actually.
Pretend I'm not a space nerd.
Yes.
Walk me through it.
I will. And the thing is that the satellites that we work with that download Earth observation data, or most of those, they orbit in what's called a polar orbit. That means that the fixed orbit will pass close to the poles in somewhat. And then the Earth will turn inside, giving the satellite opportunity to capture information or measurements or data.
Every time it passes.
Every time it passes around the Earth.
Beam me up or beam me down.
Yeah, exactly. So every time it passes, then it can do stuff. And then thing is that every time it passes, and it takes around 100 minutes to go around the Earth. So it's quite fast, 27,000 kilometers an hour. So
that's pretty fast.
So if you've seen Gravity with Sandra Bullock, it's they say it's quite accurate. And the location being then far north gives us the advantage that we can see the satellite every time it passes over here, independent on where it comes from.
So other locations can't do that.
So other locations, if you're closer to the equator, you will not see your satellite, for a long time until you hit it again when it's ascending or descending on the other side. But up here, we can see it every time. And it's here in Tromsø was, for a long time, the northernmost station in the world. It was established in 1967.
Oh, not yesterday.
No. And then still very early days, thinking just 10 years after the first satellite, Sputnik, was launched. We had the world's most advanced satellite ground station here in Tromsø.
So you were around when NASA went to the moon?
Yeah, and we'll be around when they go again, for sure. So, so location is really important, and that's why the headquarters is here. And then what happened some years after that is that what happens if we go even further north, looking at Svalbard? Because that's really a unique place, because we can see the satellite and talk to the satellite every 14 times it passes, and nowhere else can you do that. So today that's the world's largest satellite station.
So you must be capturing a lot of data then.
Yeah, we capture a lot. I know the large parts of the world's weather data, for instance, is captured at Svalbard. I don't have the numbers now on how much data, but it is huge volumes of data, and we're expanding the ground network with antennas and sites and capacity all the time to meet the demand.
And how do you turn all this data into something valuable, knowledge or insights or wisdom even?
Yeah, you mean the magic?
Yeah.
No, but it's not a joke, because that's actually when all the tech, because it's a lot of great tech, but that's where it gets its purpose fulfilled in a way. It's when it comes in the hands of the end user. So how to do that? A lot of the data that we download through our network, it goes just through like a modem, so it goes from the satellite to our antennas and to the end user, to the satellite operator somewhere else. But for a lot of the other data, we take that in-house, we process it into imagery, and we analyze it. So, for instance, since the 90s, Norway has taken advantage of for instance, radar technology from space, which they didn't know in the beginning, but found out that there was an excellent tool to detect vessels, oil spills, in other...
so not just weather.
No, so not just weather, but actually it was an all day, all night, through clouds, huge area coverage, perfect for a country like Norway that has huge ocean areas, a lot of darkness and a lot of weather, not so many people. So we started very early in exploring how we could use that operationally, actually. So looking for vessels to monitor vessel traffic, for fisheries management, for oil spill detection, like we do an important part of preparedness and response in Norway. So it's done today. You mentioned all the amounts of data, and we do this in Norway, we do it in Europe, we do it in South America, Middle East, so it's a lot of information coming through. So how we have to deal with it today is that we have to use a combination of our expert analysts that still are the best.
Yeah, I think so.
Yes, they are still. And a trained eye, expert eye in our operations room is still the best analyst.
You have the experience that no one else has, really.
Yes, exactly. Because these are not simple images to analyze. There's a lot of features in them. So we don't want to sort of raise a false alarm even, you know. But a combination of machine learning, deep learning, AI, together with the expert in the loop. That's how we do it.
And if I heard you right, just in the last session, you said in the next 10 years, we're going to get 10,000 more satellites launched up into space?
Yeah, that's what the reports and the projections are saying. And that's as many satellites as has been launched in the 60 previous years.
So 60 years are going to be condensed into the next 10.
Into the next 10.
Double.
Yes.
Space out there.
Yeah.
So what kind of challenges does that present? It's almost overwhelming.
Yeah, that presents a lot of challenges. So the first challenge is solved and is made possible by all the commercial launchers. So like SpaceX, like Rocket Lab, and these others, and also now hopefully soon also in Andøya here in Norway.
Next month, yeah.
So that's been traditionally the first bottleneck.
Right.
Yeah, but then of course it's the challenge, and it's been a lot of attention to space, the situational awareness, and sustainability in space, and is there enough space for all these satellites? So this is something that our industry is taking very seriously. So we have a lot of focus on that. But it also posed a challenge when we need to get all this data down.
Crunching it just will
yes,
take forever,
and it needs to go quicker because nobody wants to wait
no
for anything anymore. You know how it is. So that posts a challenge to have the capacity to get that valuable data down. And then also for us then to handle the big data, to process it, to store it,
Will AI be a help in this?
Yes, definitely. And, AI in helping support the analysis. And I think also AI to help us task the satellites, to do follow-ons, maybe also to prioritize what information to download first, already on board the satellite. Right. That's also something that is being developed.
Right. So, otherwise it's garbage in, garbage out, right?
Yeah, and exactly, and for the satellite itself to figure out what's the best, what's the most important information, so you can actually maybe prioritize what packages to send down first. So there's a lot going on in that, how to handle this growth and also the information flow. So
when it comes to Earth surveillance, then, is there anything you still can't measure? It feels like you can see everything from your satellites.
Yeah, we can see a lot,
I'm a little worried now. I'm going to walk across the street and be looking up all the time.
Yeah. So, no, a lot happened after just on Google Earth. Right. Even my aunt could see her house and her car, and you could immediately then see that maybe there was an old picture because you had painted your house and you have a new car because now
you see the dog is there.
Yeah. You can see exactly. So how can we put it? We still cannot meet the Hollywood expectation.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I can see your house, maybe the color of your house and your car, but I can't see what you're cooking in your kitchen.
Good. So I'm safe there.
Yes.
I appreciate that. Nina, thank you for taking the time to join me. I think it's going to be very interesting to see what you have to say about space next year. I think a lot's going to happen between now and then. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.